We've all seen crazy things happen in wrestling, and some crazy match types. But if you haven't seen these matches, you won't believe some of them that have happened in WWE over the years. Some are unbelievable, some absurd, and some downright bizarre. The first one that we'll look at is the Las Vegas Showgirl match. This match occurred on the 7th of October 2002 on an episode of Raw, and it was also the first time that they did the Raw Roulette, where the wrestlers had to spin a wheel to decide the match stipulation for their matches. Funnily enough, this episode of Raw was in Las Vegas, and Eric Bischoff was backstage with a roulette wheel and a couple of showgirls. William Regal entered the scene, and he explained to Bischoff that he didn't like the stipulations given so far. Goldust, who Regal was facing that night, was there as well, and Regal told them that he just wanted a good old singles match. Unfortunately for Regal, Bischoff spun the wheel, and it landed on the Las Vegas Showgirl match. It sounded good to Regal, but to his surprise, Bischoff explained that he had to dress up as a showgirl in full drag. Goldust just hilariously blows a kiss at Regal and leaves. Regal played the part weirdly well, and eventually hit Goldust with brass knuckles to get the win. They both did their part to keep it entertaining and weird, and in my opinion, it's just comedy gold. Next up, we have the Jailhouse Match. This match happened at SummerSlam 1991, where Big Boss Man faced off against the Mountie. The match fit Big Boss Man well, as he was known for serving hard times, and this is exactly what this match was about. The loser of the match would have to stay 24 hours in a New York City jail cell. Boss Man won the match, and unfortunately for Mountie, he was cuffed and taken downtown. It's one of those that's not a classic by any means, but it's just some fun, goofy wrestling that Simon from What Culture is probably a big fan of. Next on the list is the Dungeon Match. This one took place at Fully Loaded 98. Owen Hart faced off against Ken Shamrock in a match with Dan Severn as the special guest ref. The match was filmed at the famous Hart Family Dungeon, which was the Hart family's personal training facility. But that wasn't the only thing that made this a dungeon match. They had no ring, just mats on the floor, wooden panels, and pipes on the ceiling. Unfortunately, due to the setting, they didn't have much to work with and could only pull off so much. At one point, Shamrock tried to hit Owen with a kick, but missed and hit Dan Severn. Hart took advantage and knocked Shamrock out by hitting him with a dumbbell. Owen applied a hold on Shamrock, and Severn coincidentally recovered from the kick, and he saw Shamrock in the hold, and Owen made Shamrock tap out. Up next is the ladder match for the custody of Dominic Mysterio back at SummerSlam in 2005, between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. It's one of those controversial angles that could only happen back in the good old days, and make you think, did that actually happen? The matches that Rey and Eddie had back then were always unbelievable, and the storyline made things way more intense. A few months before SummerSlam, Eddie attacked Rey and threatened to reveal a dark secret about the Mysterio family to everyone. Rey and Eddie's family begged him not to reveal the secret, and they set up a match at the Great American Bash, with the stipulation that if Eddie lost, he couldn't reveal the secret. Well, Eddie did lose, and revealed the secret on the next week's SmackDown anyway. He told Dom that Rey wasn't his dad, and that he was. This, and Eddie's bedtime stories, led to a match at SummerSlam, where papers for the custody of Dom, in a briefcase, hung above the ring. Rey eventually won, thanks to Dom with a distraction, and Vicky Guerrero coming out to stop Eddie herself. As if ascending a ladder to secure his championship wasn't dramatic enough, add in the emotional weight of determining a child's custody, and you've got a match that blurs the lines between soap opera and sports entertainment. Next, we have the Gulf of Mexico match. The only official Gulf of Mexico match was between CM Punk and Chavo Guerrero, in WWE's version of the ECW brand back in early 2008. The objective is quite obvious. The first person to throw their opponent in the Gulf of Mexico wins. The match was won after CM Punk hit the GTS on Chavo Guerrero, knocking him into the water. It's a pretty dangerous stipulation, especially if you're not a strong swimmer. This was the only official Gulf of Mexico match. However, there have been many more segments in WWE using the Gulf of Mexico or something similar. They used the Gulf of Mexico in Jack Swagger vs Rey Mysterio's No DQ match in 2010, and when Cody Rhodes threw Damien Sandow's Money in the Bank briefcase into the Gulf in 2013. They also had a similar segment back in 2006 with the Edge and John Cena feud. Next is the infamous Hardcore Evening Gown match. This was between Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, and honestly, it's one of the most cursed things that wrestling has ever seen. This is what a few users from a wrestling forum have to say about it. One user who saw the match live said it wasn't only an awful match, but it made them feel like they needed a shower after watching it. Another user replied to this, saying it wasn't bad wrestling, but serious mental trauma. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe had to compete against each other in drag and battle to undress each other. Yeah, it's basically a male version of the bra and panties matches, with wrinkly, aging wrestlers. The less said, the better about this one. Next up is the Crybaby Match. In the mid-90s, WWE decided to add an unusual stipulation to a match between two former friends turned bitter rivals, Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid, better known as X-Pac. The rules were as follows. The loser of the match would be treated like a crybaby, complete with a giant-sized baby bottle and diaper. It's a match stipulation that sounds like it was plucked straight from the pages of bizarre wrestling playbooks. Thankfully, this match only took place once, at In Your House 6. And again, the less said the better. The next one is absolutely disgusting, but before we get to that, like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video, and let us know in the comments if you remember any of these and what we've missed. So next is the Hog Pen Match, which first happened at In Your House 5. This match has happened a couple of times in WWE, but with slight rule changes depending on what rivalry is going on. The name of the match is pretty self-explanatory though. There are pigs in a pen, filled with mud, and of course piggy poo, and in one variation, the wrestlers have to try to throw each other in, and the loser is obviously the one who gets put in the pen. In the other variation, the wrestlers just basically wrestle in the pen until someone wins. The first one, at In Your House 5, was between Triple H's Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Henry O. Godwin, and it's most definitely the better one. The other one happened at Extreme Rules in 2009, in a handicap version, between Santino Marella and Chavo and Vicky Guerrero. Personally, the match made me feel like I never want to see a hog pen match ever again. Next, we've got another smelly, disgusting match type, the Dog Poo Match. And yeah, this actually really happened, and luckily only once. The Rock and the British Bulldog were feuding back in 1999, and weirdly, the WWE decided to put them against each other in a dog poo match. You can guess what this match is about from the title. The first wrestler to dump their opponent into dog poo wins. Mankind collected the dog poo from a local dog pound, and the Rock rock-bottomed the Bulldog straight into it. Imagine paying for a front row seat and having to go through smelling that mess. Next, we have the Duchess of Queensbury Rules match. William Regal's back again in another questionable match, this time as commissioner. He was in a rivalry with Chris Jericho back in 2001, and the two had some pretty good matches, most notably at WrestleMania 17 and Insurrection 2001. But in this match at Backlash 2001, Regal and Jericho went at it in the Duchess of Queensbury match, where Regal had a clear advantage over Jericho. This involved a woman in a dress, with a ridiculous wig, claiming to be the Duchess of Queensbury. She was basically the dictator of the match, changing the rules in Regal's favour, adding some time limits and no DQs. It wasn't as good as their other matches, but they both played their roles well, as both men always did, and kept it pretty enjoyable. And finally, we have the awful Kennel from Hell match. In 1999, the WWF presented the Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven, featuring Al Snow and the Big Boss Man in a clash for the Hardcore Championship. But what set this match apart was the addition of the Hell in a Cell cage that was surrounding the traditional steel cage, creating a nightmarish double-layered structure. Oh, and the fact that there's attack dogs involved. This was one of Vince Russo's notoriously bad ideas. The objective was to be the first to escape through the door of that outer Hell in a Cell cage, while hostile attack dogs roamed the apron between the two cages, adding a scary twist, or what was at least supposed to be. Vince Russo's quest for attack dogs took an unexpected turn, when on short notice, he ended up with the Dawgs more interested in playfulness, urination, defecation, and even attempts at mating rather than attacking the wrestlers. Critics didn't hold back in their assessment, deeming the Kennel from Hell match one of the worst gimmick matches and perhaps one of the worst matches in WWE history. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and click here for another. And if you want to become one of the Dawgs yourself, check the links in the description. Nice one.